Director for the NF Network, and we would like to welcome you to our webinar series. Tonight we will be discussing NF advocacy. My daughter was diagnosed with NF when she was 2.5 years old. She's 29 now and happy to say that she's doing very, very well. One of the first questions I had when I went to my first NF Network meeting was how much funding was spent on NF research. And to my horror, I was told none. Since that time in 1996, NF became part of the Congressional Directed Medical Research Program, one of the first disease-specific groups to be part of this elite, efficient, and effective program. Tonight we are here to learn how to advocate for the continuation of this essential program. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we go on. After the talk, you'll be able to ask some questions which will be read aloud. To do that, in your webinar toolbox, click the question box and you can type your question. If you would like to verbally ask a question, you will need to have dialed into the conference call number that was provided. Click on the green hand icon. Your name will be called and then your phone will be activated. To remove the webinar control panel from the view of your screen, click the orange rectangular button with the arrow. This may be necessary to have a complete view of the PowerPoint. So the Neurofibromatosis Network is celebrating its 25th year this year. I wanted to give you a little bit of background. I noticed when I was looking at the names of the people who have registered that there's some new faces here. So I wanted to tell you back in 1988, Neurofibromatosis Inc. was formed by 3 regional, independent, local NF organizations. They created a national organization that serves as an umbrella to facilitate collaboration on national activities and a networking of shared resources. This allows for autonomy to be retained by the individual regional organizations. The NF Network mission is to find treatments and a cure for neurofibromatosis by promoting scientific research, that's what we'll be talking about tonight, improving clinical care, providing outreach through education and awareness while offering hope and support to those affected by NF. The network is leading NF advocacy and building NF community. And how do we do that? We're founded on 3 pillars. By promoting NF research, we do that through our federal funding and grassroots collaboration. By building NF community through some of our educational programs and some of our social and support opportunities. And we also do that by funding our mission. Obviously, we do that through 25 years worth of individual donations, combined federal campaign, Great Steps walks, and other events. To get an idea of who the network is, you can see that there are 8 different regional organizations that cover across the United States. The network has identified 14,000 families with NF, and in 2011, the network provided services in 44 states. I wanted to just show you a little bit about what happens in these areas here before we go on with our talk today. This is the NF Northeast. Here's a picture of the Central Plains. They're having an educational meeting there. They're Great Steps for NF Walk. The NF California group. NF Arizona, they also do a family camp. NF Midwest was one of the largest symposiums in the country. They also have a Great Steps for NF Walk. NF Michigan, they're doing a marathon run there and an educational meeting. NF Minnesota with their educational and support meetings. And Washington State, one of their walks, and even the rain wouldn't stop them. So what we're here to talk about today is NF research. And this is a grassroots advocacy program which promotes federal funds for NF research. Starting in 1996, we have successfully advocated for over $225 million through the Army's NF research program, and we've also had inclusion of NF research language specific for the National Institutes of Health. In 2012, we had 22 advocates that went to the Hill, did 131 visits, and 100 drop-in visits. We just came back from the Hill a couple of weeks ago, and we had 29 people, and again had over 200 visits. And what was the results of those visits? And this is the numbers that we're working on, and we're hoping by educating all of you tonight that these numbers will increase. So we had 1,011 email messages sent to 335 different congressional offices, and you can see the number of emails that went into each of the states. And as a result of those emails, we were looking for them to sign on to a Dear Colleague letter, which is in support of the research, which we will explain in a little bit more detail later on. And these are the congressmen that have signed on to the 2013 funding and the senators. So we had 49 congressional signatures and 9 signatures on the Senate side. And where are we now? I think most of you know that we're on a continuing resolution. The House marked us up for 15, and that's where it stands. The 2013 funding will be settled. The sequestration issue has to be solved, and the continuing resolution. So this year is a little unique where we're trying to finish 2013 funding, and we are also now in the process of asking for 2014. So what does that look like as far as the calendar goes? As you can see, we have the Army's NF Research Program, which is that elite, very targeted, mission-driven program which has resulted in a lot of cutting-edge research for neurofibromatosis. And then we also have the other program that we advocate for, and that's through the National Institutes of Health, to have language written up in their committee reports listing NF as a priority. In January, we set the funding level for the Army's NF Research Program and determine the language that's going to be put into that we're going to ask for being put into the NIH committee report language. In February, we go to the Hill. That's what we've just completed now. And we have now found Senator Harkin's office and Congressman Gutierrez's office, who will head up the 2 Dear Colleague letters for us. These 2 have been champions for us for many years. What we're talking about tonight is our March step, and that is to get the grassroots, to get our members to encourage their congressmen to sign on to the Dear Colleague letter in support of the NF research. So the two different programs that we were talking about is the CDMRP program, the Neurofibromatosis Research Program, and the National Institutes of Health. That's how NF is being funded. And we're looking for them to sign on to the Dear Colleague letter. This is the same as last year. Although every year when the President's budget is released, neurofibromatosis is not included in the CDMRP program or as a dollar amount at the National Institutes of Health. So every year we start at 0 and we have to work our way back into it, like we are working still to finish in 2013 at $15 million. We are asking for 2014 for $15 million as well. In this slide, you'll see that we are using Senator Harkin as our contact person. So when we're talking to our local representatives, we're asking them to contact Gutierrez on the House side if they choose to sign on to the Dear Colleague letter, or Senator Harkins on the Senate side. So how do you start the process? If you would like to help and be a part of this grassroots efforts, the best way to go is to the nfnetwork.org website. There's 2 ways to access our advocacy section. One of them is to go under, be an NF activist. Another one is to check down here for advocacy updates. Once that Dear Colleague letter gets, when it leaves Congressman Gutierrez's office, you'll be receiving an email from us here at the office that says, now's the time to contact your congressman by email, asking them to sign on. And then it'll be in this section right here, once that's launched. In the meantime, if you go to Be an Activist, and you click on the action button, you can put your zip code in, and it'll bring you to this. This is my zip code. So these are my senators, and this is my representative. So if you want to send the letter that's in there today, you click on this button right here. There's already language that explains NF, explains what the 2014 request is, and you can just hit send, and they'll get an email. Another way to do that is to click on your representative's website, get their phone number, and ask to speak to them or to schedule a meeting in their local office. And that's what we're going to focus on next. To do a meeting like this, you call the office, you ask for either a phone or a meeting. If you're lucky enough to get a meeting, either way, whether phone or in person, you introduce yourself, you tell them where you're from, you give them a brief background on NF, how it's funded through the Department of Defense and through NIH, the National Institutes of Health. There's a fact sheet on our website, and I'll show you a copy shortly, that you can use that goes over these details. Most importantly, share your story. Tell them how NF affects you and how important it is to you to see funding for NF research. And what are we asking for this year? We're asking that the House hold the $15 million for fiscal 2013, and we have a request for $15 million for 2014. And we're also asking for support of the NIH NF research language for 2014. And there's copies of all of those on the website. Make sure you thank them for their time, and invite them to contact you with questions because you want to be able to stay in touch. Important points. Make it local. You're the constituent. Make it personal. Tell your story. Remember to ask for support. Don't assume that they will help. You're most likely to meet with staff and not the member. Be flexible. Meetings could be by phone or in person at the local office. Meetings could last just 15 minutes, so plan to make your point quickly if necessary. The do's and don'ts. Do arrive on time. Begin by thanking them for meeting you. Do state that you're a constituent. Do keep your message short, relative, and to the point. If more than one of you are attending the meeting, do designate a spokesperson. Do make the ask. Just don't go over your points. Ask your members to take action on your behalf. Justify your request, but don't overwhelm them with too much information. Do leave the fact sheets and information on the issue. Thank them and follow up. Make sure you get a card from the staffer during your meeting so that you can contact them directly, or if by mail, ask them for their personal email. This is the best way to get a hold of them. Right after the meeting, jot down any questions that they raised and your impressions about the member or staff's positions on the issues. Follow up your visit with a personal letter, email is the best, thanking the member for their staff for meeting with you. Send the note directly to the staffer, using this opportunity to establish an ongoing relationship. The best way to contact the Congressional office is definitely by email. Personal letter then, and then fax or phone call. We don't want to mail anything to the House or the Senate. It may never get there since the anthrax. It sometimes takes 3 weeks, and it looks all irradiated by the time they get there. It's imperative that you tell them in any way that you choose to correspond with them that you are a constituent. Don't be afraid. You're a constituent and you have a good story to tell. Don't be argumentative. It's okay to disagree. Be polite, but persistent as you make your point. Don't claim to be an expert. If you don't know the answer to a question, offer to find out and contact them soon after your meeting. Don't assume that members of Congress or their staff members understand the issue, and avoid acronyms if possible. This is a copy of the fact sheet that you can find on our website. You can use the pictures on the top to explain about NF. Some of the important facts about NF are in the column here on the left. Some highlights of the CDMRP NF research program are listed in here. And then our ask for this year is down here. So it's a good way to organize your meeting, and it's a good leave behind after you for them to have as a follow-up. So when we first started this program, people wondered why would the Army be interested in studying NF. And as it turns out, NF is a model disease for learning about a lot of different types of disorders, the warfighter in particular. Much of the research that's been done in regards to pain with NF, nerve regeneration, wound healing, inflammation, blood vessel growth, bone growth and repair, orthopedic abnormalities, amputation, and brain function have direct correlations to the warfighter. There's also this document on our website in our advocacy section that you can provide the staffer or your congressional office should they have questions on how NF research is related. Another piece that you may find helpful is our Network Edge. This is produced quarterly, and it's about the recent research in neurofibromatosis. There's a new issue that was just published, just put up just a couple of days ago for the second edition. Check back to our website often. You'll be able to see copies of this webinar here after the presentation, and find out more about the advocacy updates in this section down here. Well, that's actually the presentation for this evening. I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has them. You have to give me just a minute here so that I can get to the questions. Okay, just a few more minutes here. Okay, this is from Orla Stewart. Will NF removal be covered by health plans? Actually, the removal of neurofibromas is covered by many health plans, although not all health plans. There is a code that we have here at the office. If you want to send us an email at admin@nfnetwork.org, we can get that to you so that you have that to provide to your physician's office, the code that they need for getting that covered under insurance companies. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions here tonight, so I'd just like to thank everybody for attending this evening. That the NF Network is working to improve the quality of life for individuals with NF through education, which is one of the goals for the network. You'll be receiving a survey and a follow-up email to this webinar. Your thoughts are greatly appreciated for future webinars. We thank you for attending, and good night.